Before explaining why small apartments suddenly look the way they do, it is worth establishing that this is not simply a feeling generated by a handful of viral apartment tours. The shift shows up in the numbers. In 2025, half of all house plans sold in the United States measured between 1,000 and 1,999 square feet, while only 1 in 10 fell below 1,000. But the share of plans under 2,000 square feet has been climbing steadily year over year, described by housing data analysts as a subtle but consistent move toward homes that are right-sized rather than downsized. At the same time, Pinterest searches related to small apartment design and studio layouts have surged, driven specifically by renters in dense cities who are not treating their compact homes as temporary compromises, but as spaces worth genuinely designing. Put together, this is not a story about scarcity. It is a story about a generation of homeowners and renters who, given the choice, are increasingly choosing smaller, more central, more intentional homes. And design culture has responded by taking those homes far more seriously than it did even 5 years ago. For most of the 20th century and the first decades of the 21st, luxury in residential design was measured almost entirely by quantity: square footage, ceiling height, the number of rooms, the size of the plot. A small apartment, by this definition, could be well designed, but it could never be genuinely luxurious. Luxury required scale that a compact footprint structurally could not provide. This definition quietly worked against every small apartment for decades, regardless of how thoughtfully it was furnished. No amount of good taste could overcome a category mistake. If luxury is defined by size, the small home is permanently excluded from the category, no matter what is inside it. The shift now visible in 2026 design coverage is a redefinition at the category level, not a styling trend layered on top of the old definition. Industry analysis now explicitly states that the idea of luxury is no longer tied to expansive floor plans, and that it has shifted instead to intentional design, smart use of space, and an emphasis on quality and experience. This is the precondition for everything else in this video. None of the specific trends that follow would matter if the underlying definition of what counts as beautiful and luxurious had not changed first. The minimalism that dominated small space design for much of the last decade was, in retrospect, a colder version of the idea than what is replacing it now. Stark white walls, glossy surfaces, an absence of texture that was sometimes mistaken for sophistication, but that frequently produced rooms that photographed well and felt slightly uninhabitable. The minimalism defining small apartments in 2026 keeps the same underlying discipline, curate only the essentials, but applies it to an entirely different material palette. Natural wood finishes, handmade tiles, linen upholstery, and muted earthy tones have replaced the cold whites and high-gloss surfaces of the previous decade. The goal, as design analysts now describe it, is a sensory-rich experience that evokes calm and comfort, where every remaining design element serves a purpose and tells a story. This shift matters specifically for small apartments because the previous version of minimalism, applied to a compact footprint, often produced something closer to a sterile waiting room than a home. Warm minimalism solves the problem that stark minimalism never addressed. A small space can be edited down to its essentials and still feel completely alive, provided the few things that remain are chosen for their warmth and tactility rather than their visual cleanliness alone. After roughly 2 decades in which open concept layouts were treated as the obvious solution to limited square footage, 2026 marks a clear reversal, and one of the most significant changes shaping small apartment design specifically. Industry observers describe this directly. The layout trend currently being watched most closely is the return of defined rooms, libraries, sitting rooms, proper dining rooms, after years of open concept everything. The reasoning is not nostalgic. It reflects a genuine reassessment of how people actually use small homes day to day, particularly with the rise of remote and hybrid work, where a single undivided room asks to serve every function of daily life. Sleeping, working, relaxing, eating, eventually produces fatigue rather than flexibility. For a small apartment specifically, this does not mean adding walls that the floor plan cannot accommodate. It means using rugs, lighting, low furniture, and curtains to create distinct zones within a single room. A return to the principle of defined function even within a compact, undivided footprint, rather than a return to literal separate rooms. Perhaps the most counterintuitive shift in small apartment design heading into 2026 is the explicit rejection of decades of advice that told small space owners to keep walls light and pale to maximize the sense of space. Current design coverage now states the opposite directly. Forget the advice you have always heard about keeping small spaces light and bright, because the boldest design move of the year is painting one wall, or sometimes all four walls and the ceiling, in a deep saturated color, and designers are calling the results transformative. This is not bold color applied despite the room being small. It is bold color that works specifically because the room is small. A deep, saturated wall in a generous room can feel disconnected from its surroundings, too large a gesture to fully register. The same color in a compact room becomes the room's entire atmosphere almost immediately, with nowhere for the eye to escape to a competing pale surface. Small rooms, according to current design thinking, have a unique charm that sets them apart. They provide a perfect place to embrace more dramatic and statement design ideas precisely because their scale makes commitment to a single bold decision so immediately, completely effective. Curved furniture has been one of the most discussed interior trends of the past 2 years, but its specific value in small apartments goes beyond aesthetic preference. Sharp corners interrupt movement in tight spaces, both physically and visually. A hard edge on a coffee table or a console requires conscious navigation in a room where walking paths are already narrow, and that requirement registers as friction even when it never results in an actual collision. A rounded sofa with no visible legs, where the upholstery runs all the way to the floor, dramatically reduces visual clutter at floor level, which is consistently one of the most effective tricks available for making a small room read as larger than its dimensions. A circular coffee table and an arched floor lamp extend the same principle throughout the room, creating a sense of flow that makes the space easier to exist in physically, not merely more pleasant to look at. This is the specific reason curved furniture has become disproportionately associated with small space design rather than large home design. In a generous room, a sharp corner is rarely encountered closely enough to matter. In a compact one, every corner is encountered constantly, and removing them removes a source of friction that accumulates into genuine daily relief. Personality-driven design has become one of the defining concepts in small apartment coverage heading into 2026, built on a specific observation. Small decorative objects and personal narrative carry disproportionate weight in a compact home precisely because there is less competing visual territory for them to be lost within. In a large home, a single meaningful object can disappear into a room large enough to absorb dozens of similar gestures without any one of them registering strongly. In a 400 square foot apartment, The same object, a handmade ceramic, a piece of art chosen for a specific memory, a textile collected on a particular trip, is encountered repeatedly, closely, and almost constantly, and its personal meaning accumulates rather than dilutes. Design analysts now describe this directly. Vibrant colors, eclectic patterns, and carefully curated decorative objects evoke personal narratives, making even the tiniest apartments feel expansive and rich with character, allowing the home to transcend its physical dimensions and become a true reflection of the owner's essence. This is the opposite of what intuition suggests. The smaller the home, the more visible, and the more valuable, genuine personal expression becomes within it. Step back from the individual trends. Warm minimalism defines zones, bold color, curved furniture, personality-driven decoration, and one underlying shift connects all of them, and it is the genuine explanation for why small apartments are suddenly producing some of the most beautiful homes available anywhere. Every one of these trends represents the same underlying decision. Stop designing the small apartment as an apology for not being a large home, and start designing it as its own complete category with its own specific advantages. Bold color works better in compact rooms than in generous ones. Personal objects carry more weight in 400 square feet than in 4,000. Curved furniture solves a friction that barely exists at larger scale. None of these are compensations for smallness. They are advantages that smallness specifically enables. This is the actual content of the redefinition happening across residential design right now. Not that small apartments have learned to imitate large homes more convincingly, but that designers have finally identified the things small homes can do that large homes structurally cannot, and have started designing toward those specific strengths instead of away from the limitation. That is the entire story behind why this video exists. Warm materials over cold ones. Defined zones over endless open plans. Bold color where pale used to be the rule. Curves where corners used to sit. Personal objects given room to actually matter. None of it compensates for being small. All of it works because the apartment is small. Subscribe for more interior design videos. And tell us in the comments, do you think this shift is real, or is it just what people online are currently saying?